Good morning, flower friends. We are in the secret cottage garden on this summer solstice, June 21st. Pretty sure that's summer solstice. And I wanted to take you on a tour for this time of year. Sorry, I am so disheveled. I've been out weed eating, fixing irrigation pipes. I've been doing a lot before the heat hits. We've been having some record-breaking temperatures here in Northern California, pretty much all over California. But even here in the mountains, it's been close to 100, and that's unheard of for June in this area. So lots of things have changed since the last video. The delphiniums are starting. The irises are mostly done. There's a few here and there still blooming. Putting on the last bit of show. The foxgloves are finishing up. And I am cleaning up, deadheading, and moving stuff. So everything's still a work in progress. I still haven't gotten very far on my pathways because so many other things have taken up my time. So that's still a work going on. So I'm going to put you on a gimbal. I'm hoping I'm not too jiggly, but I'm going to walk you around and see how that works. And if I have to redo this, I have to redo this. So let's get going on our walk. I think I'm going to take you quickly through this garden, and then we'll go up the side and to the front, and we'll get all the gardens into this video. But forgive stuff laying around, hoses pulled, my equipment, because I just go from chore to chore as fast as I can until it gets too hot to work out here. So let's get going. We'll start here beside the studio. I don't have my fountain plugged in yet, but I'll do that fairly quickly. Still lots of things staged, but I am getting things where they belong. Slowly but surely. A lot of things I've hesitated to put out in the garden just because of the high heat. And I'll show you right here a little trick. This is where I planted the Eroniums that I did a video on planting the bare root that I got this past winter. And I'm shading them. I got a couple of pots there, couple boards across the top to prevent the 100-degree heat from really just cooking them. I didn't at first cover them, and I noticed they were struggling, so I went ahead and gave them some shade. So that is hopefully going to work well. And there's my hummingbird friend up there. I don't know if you can see him on there. He's sitting by the feeder. My cat caught a hummingbird this morning, and I'm nursing it. I hope it recovers. I don't know, though. I'm just so perturbed at him. I know it's his natural inclination to hunt, so I'm just going to have to be careful about letting him out right now. Here is the moss heart I created, and I did a video on it. And I'm going to, it's filling in, it's doing great. This gets a good amount of shade during the hot part of the day, so that moss is really liking it better than where I had it in the pathway before. And it's been so hot, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the watering of this hay rack. I need to get, I've got on my list the drip to go into it so it gets a little bit better watering, but I'm going to try to keep up. I've been watering it twice a day. Might not be the best option for right there. I planted some sweet peas at the base of this. That's a tomato cage turned upside down and secured on the ground, and I will tie them up. I did this a lot yet last year, and it worked beautifully. And some Verbena Bonariensis coming up there. My seedlings, let me scoot you down here so you can see them. My seedlings of white Swan Echinacea coming up. I planted 6 seeds. It looks like 2 have successfully germinated and come up. Some weedy ground cover down there. And this area has been planted up with a lot of things that will fill in beautifully as they mature. And let's go along here. I just did a video on deadheading. This is my Princess Alexandra of Kent. The first flush of blooms is done. You saw that in a prior video. it blooming so pretty. And here's one of the pathways that I'm working on. These stepping stones are going to be pulled up. I may have a few in there to get to that centerpiece, but I'm rerouting the path to right down here. And it's going to run along here, and it's not going to be stepping stones. The weeds seem to come into the cracks or between them so easily that I'm just going to put down the alfalfa hay and then the bark and then plant alongside it. Or I have these logs, different logs and stones that are going to be my borders. And then eventually I would like to get gravel put in. But until I have this whole back design solidified in my mind, I keep going back and forth of what I like, where, when, etc. So it's a work in progress, and the alfalfa straw and the bark is super easy to pull up. So here is the Jupiter's beard doing beautifully. This may need to get moved eventually once the pathways get put in, but it moves easy, so it's not a big deal. And I have another little heart down here. I have some creeping woolly thyme, and I'm thinking of filling this one with woolly thyme, and it is right in front of the tool shed. And you see that rose up there? That is from the root of a rootstock of a rose I dug up. That is Dr. Huey, which it's a pretty red, but then it gets scalded. You can see so easy. And I've just let it go there. I need to get behind the tool shed and cut it way back. Here is the clematis climbing up the tool shed. I have wire on there for it to climb. It's not bloomed yet, but I'm sure it will. I think that's H.F. Young. I can't remember precisely. That was one of those cheap bare root ones I got like at Home Depot or Lowe's. So this is Madame Isaac Perrier, and I just put it in the ground. I took a risk thinking hopefully the gophers, I haven't seen any evidence of them back here. Doesn't mean they're gone, but I took a chance and went ahead and put it in the ground. You can see the larkspur starting. In this camera, in my thing, it's showing it a light lavender, but it's really a deep purple. Hopefully, and when I edit this, it'll come up true. Look at that white delphinium. Let's see if we can zoom in. I just love that. And the black bee. The bee is the center. That is just gorgeous. Hopefully, I will get some seeds from this one, even though it's open pollinated, and it probably is cross-pollinating with my blue. I hopefully could get more white with the black bee. I really love that color. So along here, more Verbena Bonariensis. The bees and butterflies love this. It does great. But you know what's really crazy with bees is the poppies. If you want to attract bees, put poppies in. I swear, they just are usually all over it. I'll show you a little clip of them on the pink one. Doing just a little bee action going on with the poppies. These poppies have been very popular. Just great. Back here, I was hoping these were my amazing gray poppies. So far, they've been the red. The red seems to be very hardy and keeps on spreading seed. I didn't want red in this garden, but I let them bloom, and I will collect up I'll cut off the seed pods before they spread. Look down there that's my pretty and pink rose. I put it back there to climb the fence. It's a climber, but I'm not sure how big of a vigorous a climber it is. I have thought I would maybe move it at the feet of my Zephyrine drone. I think that would be real pretty there. I will do that later, like in late fall, if I decide to go ahead and do that. This is my little box. The sun's going to cast shadows. that I built, planter box, and lined the bottom so I could put some of my not delphiniums, I'm sorry, my dahlias in them. And you can see the dahlias are getting going well. What do I have that's throwing a vine? Oh, that's my jasmine, pink jasmine. I need to pot that up next to the fence. I thought it was hardy here. It's not, and that was really silly of me to get. I will put it in a big pot so I can put it in the greenhouse in the winter. But my Hyde Hall roses are doing wonderful. And here comes these blue delphiniums. I just love this. Love, love it. This one was out front, and I moved it back here because I had a hard time supporting it in front. And back here I have this fencing. Here's my Iceberg Rose. Hopefully I'm moving slow enough. I feel like it's slow enough, and then when I get it onto my big screen as I edit, I realize I move too fast. But all along here, these in front, all these flowers down here, most of them aren't supposed to be right in the center, because this is where you walk up to that bench. It's an arbor bench, but I didn't have the heart to pull them out. Here is some. Those are can't think of it at the moment. I'll put it up on the screen. I hate that when my brain does this. This is pink. These are bachelor buttons. There we go. And a lot of them are blue. This was a packet of seeds I threw out back here. Oh, and look, there's a deep purple one down there. Let me see if I can see it or get it in the camera. There we go. And it was at various colors, and it had gotten something spilled on it that was waxy. Oh, here's a light lavender one, just gorgeous. So I just tossed the seeds out here, and they're coming up underneath the bench. But when Gardenia was loose and running around in the garden, she was scratching them up. They bent over, and these should be almost 4 feet tall, 3 or 4 feet tall. But the stem is bent over, and then these are coming up to the sun. And I'm just leaving them until they are done. I will collect the seeds, and it will all be good. But this foxglove has been very interesting because it's been poking its flowers straight out rather than them hanging down like this one. Ooh, the sun's glowing through that one. That's pretty. The bumblebees love the foxgloves. So do my hummingbirds. So this is this one. I am going to kneel down and show you a view of the path from that angle. So here's my alfalfa path. And you go, you walk, and it turns to bark. And the bark I'm going to put down over here too. But Silver the rooster is Now we are on the other side of the centerpiece. And as you can see, the violas are still going crazy even after that heat. This path too, these stepping stones are coming out. And I'm going to lay some bark and straw. Got mosquitoes trying to eat me. But I wanted to show you something down here. This was an experiment. And you see this alyssum? Move the alyssum aside. This is freely seeded itself, but you see this right here? That is boxwood that I just stuck in the ground here. And there's one right here. It's much bigger. And it rooted. So I wanted boxwood to go around this. It's called a fire ring. It's a galvanized metal fire ring. I got it at Tractor Supply. I've done a few videos on it. One was I planted it up, and the other had a water feature in the center. I moved those so the hummingbirds wouldn't be low enough for my kitties to get. They are hunters, and they like to chase after my poor baby hummingbirds. And the larkspur also attracts bees. Oh, I missed him. The bumblebee left. So if we turn this way, there is some volunteer larkspur. See, this isn't supposed to be here. It gets too tall. And you can see my log edging. That's the edge of the bed, and this is outside of it. But I was going to let it bloom a little bit, and then I'm going to take it out when I have time. So this bed is full of things that need to fill in. Might take a season or two, but it will. I'm thinning out these irises here along the edge. And even though it's not been 6 weeks since they bloom, which is optimum time for dividing and etc., just because the leaves that feed the rhizome, I just need to thin these out now because I have things I need to put here. And the pieces I thin out, I'll put on the back hillside. They can grow on and do as they please. Oh, I have a white poppy I hadn't noticed. Look right down here. The bees, like I said, just love the poppies. Get a packet or two of seeds of, these are the Shirley poppies, and throw them out. These that have reseeded themselves by themselves. And I'm really glad I got this white one because the rest are reds. This garden is primarily purples, blues, pinks. I didn't want the orangey reds, but I'm not going to pull the poppies out now that they've done their thing. Let's widen out. Along the path here, I have put in some regular little 6-pack of petunias, and they just provide color. The alyssum is some seed that, well, I should say it reseeded itself into a container, and I just transplanted some out here. So it works. I've got tons of it. And around here, I had pulled out some things that were done, and I put in some lobelia and a white petunia, just have something low growing here. So along here is the one boxwood I left in the ground. The others I pulled up. They weren't doing very well, and I found a gopher tuttle under here. But this one, I don't know what variety it is. The others I had with it were winter gem, and this one has far exceeded its growth and health. So I started cuttings from this one, and I will put more in along this edge. I'm trying to incorporate more evergreen in my garden so that in the drab months when nothing's blooming, it still has some pretty green things. So I wanted to show you. Here's another path. You see how I lined it with the logs? And they'll disintegrate and feed the soil, and I could just add more or bring in stones or what have you. But look at this sweet pea. I need to get a taller support for it. It is just going gangbusters. Now, this is one that I had planted last fall that overwinter here. Usually that doesn't work for me because we get these late freezes, but we didn't have much of a winter, so this one lived. Just doing beautiful. I've already picked one huge bouquet from it, and now it looks like I could pick another. And there's the centerpiece. Everything around here right now is overgrown. I did warn you that things were kind of crazy. There's some feverfew. I've read recently where it says that feverfew repels bees, and people were afraid to put it in their garden. I've been trying to observe that. I have plenty of bees, if you've noticed, but I haven't like put this next to a plant like a poppy that usually attracts bees, so to see if that's true or not. But this reseeds itself. I let it come up in places. It just has these pretty white flowers. Let me zoom in a little bit. Pretty daisy-like flowers that just fill in nicely. So I haven't minded having it and not noticed not having plenty of bees too. So I don't know how true that statement is. So I'm going to take you beside the studio. I just decided I'm going to take you along the walk. It may be a little jiggly, but at first I was going to avoid it because I didn't want you to see my mess. And I thought, no, this is the reality of my garden. Right here is a dolly, a dolly for moving stuff. I was moving some stones, blocks that I am using in my patio area. And look down here, you can see the hose too, but no big deal. But that lobelia in that bucket is doing great. This is one of the buckets I planted lettuce and stuff in, and I didn't think it was gonna sprout, and then all of a sudden the lettuce did a month later. So if something doesn't germinate, sometimes it's just taking its time. Now this needs to be tied up. I'm thinking I'm gonna get some command strips, put them up here so that I could tie this up. Look at that Warsaw Nike clematis in there. That's going all over, and it would be climbing up my studio if I had support for it. That's been on my list. I just haven't been able to get to it. But I think that'll be gorgeous on there. Now I pruned these boxwoods in this. Let me try to get over here so it's not thrown in the shadows. These are Green Mountain boxwoods. I kind of butchered that thing trying to shape it up, but it will grow just fine. But these have grown so quickly. And oops, it looks like I need to get my phone out of the sun. See the hose down here creating a mess. I had been feverishly watering this week because of the high temperatures, and I have so many containers. I've been trying to get things out of containers because it's just hard to keep up with all the watering, and it's because of the drought, it's not very water wise to have so many containers. So I was trying to a butterfly. Can you see him? I have had tons of swallowtail butterflies this year. Oh, he flew past. So along here is tons of foxgloves. They are finishing up. And I have some roses and I have some Canterbury Bells. Let me walk you down there. This is a flagstone path. It's all kind of wonky because of the gophers digging under it last year. But here's an Ambridge rose back here. And I just deadheaded it yesterday. And then down here are some white Canterbury Bells. Aren't those gorgeous? I was hoping they were white. This one has a tint of pink in it. So pretty. I'm really happy they came up. Oh, there is some more. That one really has some pink, hints of pink in it. Doing gorgeous. Back here is kind of my messy area behind my studio. So I have my compost piles, my compost bin. Here's the back hillside I frequently talk about. I mean, hopefully it's not too much in shadow, but I was weed eating back here and I had such a bad allergy. I've never had seasonal allergies, but something back here really got me. And you can still, I sound a little nasally still, but this is where I'm going to put a bunch of my iris that I'm digging out. And then I have some extra roses back here I didn't know where to put, and they have thrived. This hillside gets very little water. I just set up a soaker last summer for it, but it still gets very little. And these roses have thrived. So I don't know, maybe there's an underground water source. Okay, turn around slowly, slowly. Probably not slow enough. My Demitasse rose is cutting kind of scorched in the heat. So I need to give it a good deadhead, but this thing is just massive. This thing blooms all summer long. We had gotten cut off because the camera overheated, so I'm out here at a different time and a different morning to finish up our tour. But look at these Canterbury Bells. Aren't they just doing gorgeous? These are a volunteer. They came up right here, and I'm just loving them. I had some deep purple ones too before, but I haven't seen any of those come back up. So I may need to reseed the deep purple ones. Those ones are really pretty. But look, this one down here is just a beautiful pink, while these ones are a little bit lighter here, more of a white. But I love them. I'm gonna collect seeds from these and I will spread them to the other portions, other beds of the garden, and just have them in other spots. And I may even get some purple ones. Now I'm turned around the other direction. There's the Canterbury Bells we're talking about. Look, the foxgloves are nearly done. I need to cut them back, take them out, and let the other flowers shine that are down in this bed. Well, there's quite a few of different things. I have Monarda, I have Purple Rooster and the red, which I think is Jacob Klein, and I have a Roseanne geranium in here that will be blooming soon. But on this side, over here's next to the road. This is kind of my wild area that I just let fill in at will. And it does just gorgeous too. And I had planted my lilacs that I had rooted and dug up suckers from. Not from, these are the suckers that I had dug up and now I've planted. They're getting nice and big. And my daisies are just about to start blooming. You can see the rose campion right here in front. That's always really pretty. And now I have white ones too. But here's my daisies in this bed. The daisies start really taking over the bloom after the foxgloves are finishing. And here, let's look at some napping bumblebees. They're just snoozing in there. So down here are some barrels that I had planted trees in. I had other fruit trees that didn't make it, but I just put a Japanese maple in this one because it gets shaded by this pear tree, so it's a good spot for it. This barrel, I have not decided exactly what I'm going to put in it, so it's kind of just a staging point. I have some succulents in containers, etc. down there. This hydrangea down here has never done very well in this spot, so I think I need to move it. I have tons of feverfew. And here is my patio area I'm still working on. My little patio area in front of my studio, and I've just been bringing blocks down. And then I work until it gets too hot and I can't do it anymore. But you can see this bed beside the road, flower bed. This is where along here I had planted all the new peonies. I planted all of my new peonies along there that I did a video of. And along in this hillside I have some ground covers, etc. Sorry, I tried to get up there and I couldn't do it. I wasn't watching what I was doing. But I wanted to show you these really quick before we go past. These are called Eroniums. And they have the prettiest little flowers and they just bloom and bloom. I have white ones and then over here I have pink ones, and they're just growing in this sandy soil here. They seem to like the sandy soil. And then I have some succulents I've got down here. So I'm going to finish putting in some more succulents around. I have several. You can see I have a bunch in this container. And then I have more, like I showed you, in the small pots. But along here is the pathway, and I have been weed eating it because I haven't had time to get in there and pull the weeds. I wanted you to see my Warsaw Nike. Okay, start down here. It's got some vines on the ground, which I'm going to pin to the ground and cover with a little soil, and it'll root, and then I can transplant it to other spots in the garden. But look, at that gorgeous beauty. It is so full of blooms. It would be up higher, but I had to pull it down to treat the deck. But it's okay, and I haven't tied it back up again because we're supposed to have repair work and painters come, and they're going to take care of the rails and stuff, so I didn't want it to be in the way. My Grandpa Newt rose is still blooming. I need to cut off the spent blossoms so that it can put on new. And then over here is my pistachio clematis. It always does beautiful right here. Along this whole fence or rail, and then all up along here, clematis do beautifully. So that's where I'm adding as many as I can. Well, it seems my camera keeps shutting off on me, so we're going to end this garden tour right now, and I'm going to figure out what's wrong, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up. I'll see you in the next video.